Hello everyone, welcome to London South Bank Students Union Get Cleared Up another session. Today we have Nicola Smith from South Bank University who works with mental health and well-being team, and today we will discuss about how to manage our exam stress. And Nicola, the stage is yours. You can go.
Thanks very much, Ferdiz. My name is Nicola Smith and I am a mental health and wellbeing advisor at London South Bank University. And I have a presentation for you today all about how to manage your stress during the exam period. So I'm going to be sharing my screen. Okay, so welcome to Stress Management and Wellbeing During Exams. What I hope to achieve today is an opportunity for us to think about what stress is and how it affects us, to consider coping strategies and things that can help us to manage our stress during the exam period, and to learn about the support that is available to you. So firstly, what is stress? So it's really important to remember that stress is completely normal. We all experience stress. And so it's something that we are all going to experience at some points in our lives. It's very real. So it's not something that we're just imagining. It has a very real impact on not only the way we feel, but also on our body. So you may actually notice having some real physical reactions when you're feeling stressed. So you might find that your breathing becomes a little bit more shallow, or that you feel a bit shaky even, or that you have tingly feelings or butterflies in your tummy or sweaty palms. That's all a real normal and real reaction to stress. It's also important to remember that stress is variable. So the way that we handle stress can differ from situation to situation, depending on the context and various other things that can impact. Also, everybody will handle stress differently. So we may handle stress differently from somebody else who's in the same situation, and that's really worth bearing in mind. Stress is actually helpful at times, and this is really important to remember when you're faced with stress, particularly around exams. So if you can control your stress to the right level, then actually it can work to your advantage and help you to really produce a peak performance. So we need a little bit of stress to get the adrenaline going that helps us to really knuckle down and work hard. So particularly when it comes to exams, a little bit of stress is okay and helpful. It's also worth bearing in mind that stress is manageable. So you can learn to recognise how you respond to stress, what triggers your stress, and you can develop skills to help you to deal with it. And that's something that we're going to look at a little bit more detail today. So how does stress affect your body? I've already talked about this briefly. You might find that your heart beats a bit faster, and that's to carry blood to your muscles and the brain to deal with whatever it is that's in front of you that's causing stress. Your breathing may become quicker. You might find yourself sweating more. Your muscles may feel tense. You might find that your senses become sharper, your mouth becomes dry, and your blood pressure may rise a little. And this is preparing your body for something called flight or fight. So this is the science bit. So basically, your nervous system reacts to stress by releasing hormones, and those hormones are called adrenaline and cortisol. Those are released into the bloodstream, which triggers and prepares us for our fight or flight reflex. Now, this is something that helps us to survive. As human beings, throughout evolution, we are having to face potentially challenging or threatening situations. And we need to work out whether we should be fighting that challenge fighting that threat, or whether we need to be running and flying in order to survive. So it really comes down to this very, very response that's basically innate in our bodies. It's a very, very normal and real reaction. So what can help? I want to introduce you to something called the thoughts, feelings and behaviour cycle. Now, this is something that's used in cognitive behavioural therapy, or CBT for short. And this is something that CBT is usually delivered with a therapist, where you'd have sessions with a therapist. And often what's focused on in these sessions is how our thoughts interact with the way we feel and ultimately the way we behave. And this is a cycle. So if you think about the emphasis that we place on things, what we tell ourselves, the things we say to ourselves, the thoughts we have, that can directly impact how we might feel. So that's the emotional response that we have. That in turn will cause physical reactions, such as the things I've already mentioned, and that may affect the way we ultimately behave. Now, the idea behind this is that if we were to take a look at our thoughts and challenge those, question them, perhaps reframe them, we might be able to change this cycle. We might be able to change our feelings for the better. So quite often we will think in ways that may not be too helpful to us. So it's about thinking about how you can change the course of this cycle by looking at your thoughts and starting with your thoughts and seeing if there's a way of changing the way you think to help you to have a better reaction. So I'm going to introduce to you an idea known as unhelpful thoughts. This is something that's used in CBT. So what we tell ourselves, the way we think about things, the emphasis we place on things can really determine the way we feel. Examples of some very unhelpful ways of thinking that we all do at times are catastrophizing. So that might be where we are basically building a bit of a mountain out of a molehill. We're taking a situation and we are seeing that situation as being an absolute catastrophe, whereas in fact, maybe it's not such a catastrophe if we were to look at it in a different way. Another example is focusing on the negative. So just focusing on all the negative and not even considering anything remotely positive. That can be something that I think we've all experienced at times. Another example is where you may personalize the situation or the problem, and you might start to place blame, particularly on yourself. Another example is the all or nothing approach, where our thoughts are putting things into either one box or another, all or nothing. There's no in between. Now, these types of thinking styles, I think we can all identify that we've had these at times, and they're really quite unhelpful because they don't help us to move forward in a positive way. What they tend to do, in fact, is just hold us back, which is not what we want, particularly when we're trying to succeed in our exams. So how do we challenge these unhelpful thoughts? Now, firstly, when you find yourself having one of these thoughts, it's really important to notice it, capture it, grab hold of it and note it down even. And then think to yourself, what actually is the evidence for and against this negative thought that I'm having? When you start to break it down like that, you might often find that there is little evidence to support your negative thought. There might be some evidence, but probably there's not going to be as much as you might think. So when you're approaching an exam, you might be thinking to yourself, I'm going to fail. What is the evidence for that? Have you failed everything in your life? Probably not. You don't even know what the outcome of the exam is going to be. So you can't tell yourself that you're going to fail because there is no evidence for that at this stage. So that's a really useful way of starting to break down and challenge your thought. Have a think about what someone else might say to you about what you're thinking. And also think about what you would say to a friend or a loved one who is having the same thought. We are often much tougher on ourselves than we are on other people. So have a think about treating yourself in the same way as you would other people. So if a friend came to you very worried because they were convinced that they were going to fail their exam, you're not likely to tell them that they're completely useless and yes, they probably will fail. You're much more likely to say to them, you're not going to fail. You've worked really hard. All you can do is your best. You've got this, give it your best shot. I think you'd be much more positive towards a friend than you would be to yourself. So try that. Try talking to yourself in the same way as you would to a friend, or have a think about what a friend might say to you. Think about whether there might be another way of looking at this. So an example of this is saying, it's coined as flip the coin. So you're thinking to yourself, is this the only way of considering this? You're thinking you're going to fail. How about you might pass? That is the other option. You might pass. So it's worth thinking about things in a different way. Also, the sort of words you use when you have these thoughts are really important. So rather than telling yourself that you are stressed, I feel stressed, try thinking, okay, I am being challenged here. I am being challenged to solve a problem. And that might help you to sort of see things in a slightly more positive and helpful way. By looking at these things, considering these things, by challenging your thoughts, you may be able to create a much more balanced, more helpful, alternative way of thinking. It's really important to be kind to yourself and remember to be positive and compassionate in the way that you speak to yourself. As I mentioned previously, we tend to be much harder to ourselves than we are to others. And actually, why not just give yourself the same level of kindness as you would to others? As this quote says, you will never speak to anyone more than you speak to yourself in your head. Be kind to yourself. So moving on now to thinking about perspective, and this is really important when you're looking at your thought processes and how to perhaps challenge them and keep them in line. So firstly, remember that whatever happens in your exams, you can still be successful in life afterwards. Okay, so although it may feel like this is the biggest thing that you are facing, it may feel that to fail an exam would be an absolute disaster, bear in mind that actually it is still possible for you to have a positive and successful future, even if an exam doesn't go too well. Remember that exam success doesn't define you as a person. Everyone copes differently in different situations, and there's more to you than how well you're able to deal with an exam. Some people are naturally able to cope with exams better than others, and that's just the way things are. We're all different. Have a think about how far you've come already. So remember that you've already done an incredible job by getting here to university. That's an amazing achievement already. So just try to remind yourself of the positive and how well you've done. Once you have done an exam, forget about it, okay? There's nothing you can do once you've done it. So worrying about it will not change the mark. So that is not going to help you at all. So try to push aside any of those worrying thoughts that you might have after you've finished an exam and just move on from it and just wait until you get your results. So here's some advice around self-care and healthy habits, which is something that really helps to keep our stress levels down and is particularly important when you're dealing with things like exams. So it's really important to eat a healthy, balanced diet. And by that, I'm not referring to diet as in a weight loss diet, but I'm talking about just having good, nourishing food and treats when you want them to make you feel better. And all of that is important for your, to obviously give you energy, but also important for your mind. Make sure you get enough sleep. So not too much, not too little. And just remind yourself of those routines that are really important before bedtime. So avoiding screens before bed. It can be very tempting to carry on working on your laptop right up until the point you're going to go to sleep, but actually that's not going to necessarily help you sleep. So try to have a relaxing routine before bedtime. Be active. So that doesn't mean going to the gym or running a marathon. It could just be something as simple as going out for a short walk. Obviously, within the restrictions, the current restrictions, we may not be able to go and do our usual exercise, but certainly just getting out for a walk. Do the things that you enjoy and that make you feel good. That's going to lift your mood. It's going to help you relax. It's going to help reduce your stress levels. Connect with others. Connect with your loved ones, your friends, your fellow students. Share experiences. Share good things and bad things. Talk about how you're feeling with others. And seek support if you need it as well. Make time for rest and relaxation. It's very, very common for people who have a lot of work to do or have a lot of revision to do to feel that they need to just work. And actually, if you don't make any time for yourself to rest and relax, you may find that that time is not going to be very productive. You're more likely to be more productive if you make sure you take plenty of breaks to have a rest. Be kind to yourself, as we've already mentioned before, and be positive. Practice positivity and try to stay present, try to stay in the moment. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment now. Just a little note of what to do if things don't go to plan. So if things don't go your way, if the exam results are not what you wanted, or you come out of the exam feeling like it was not how you wanted it to be, that's okay. Just acknowledge your emotions. It's okay to feel that way. It's okay to not feel okay at times. Maybe consider whether you can think in a different way, a more helpful way. Try to reframe your thoughts. Think about what you've learned and perhaps consider the bigger perspective as well. Remember what I said before about, sort of one exam that hasn't gone well is not going to mean that you can't be successful in life. Maybe review your expectations and goals if you need to, and stay calm, keep going, and most importantly, continue to be kind to yourself. So we're going to have a look now at techniques to address the stress, which will be really helpful in the build up to your exam period. So firstly, what I'd like to show you is this breathing exercise. Now, as I mentioned, our body has a real reaction to stress. That's part of the fight or flight reflex. So our breathing often becomes very shallow. So if we can simply control our breath, we can actually make our body feel a little bit calmer and help to reduce some of that stress. So here we have a lovely moving shape which you can breathe along with. So as the shape expands, you can breathe in, and then when the shape goes back and reduces in size, you can breathe out. So let's just take a moment to do just that and focus on your breath. Okay, so hopefully that gives you a little insight into how calming and relaxing it can feel just to simply control your breath. And this is something that's very, very easy for us to do. You can either use something like one of these little moving images that you can download from De-Stress Monday, or you can just simply just take control of your breathing yourself. Just breathe in slowly to the count of 4, and then breathe out to the count of 4. I want to move on now to a little bit of information about how to ground yourself. This is a mindfulness technique where it's allowing yourself to bring yourself back into the moment, to stop those kind of spiraling thoughts that can make us feel increasingly stressed and anxious and panicky. And this is called the 5 senses grounding technique. So we're just going to go through this now. So firstly, you look around and you find 5 things that you can see. Really pay attention to those things. Really notice them. Maybe notice something about them you've not noticed before. So 5 things that you can see, and really pay attention to those 5 things. If any thoughts come into your mind to try and get in the way, just push them to the side and just focus on those things that you can see around you. Then focus on 4 things that you can touch or feel. So that might be an item of clothing you're wearing, a pen that's in your hand, or the seat that you're sitting on. Think about how that feels and really focus on the 4 things that you can touch or feel. Then you think about 3 things that you can hear. So notice 3 things that you can hear and really focus on those sounds. I can hear the rain outside at the moment, so that's one thing I can hear. You may be able to hear the whirring or buzzing sound of a freezer or an air conditioning unit. Notice 3 things that you can hear and really focus on those sounds. Now notice 2 things you can smell and really pay attention to your sense of smell and the 2 things that you can smell. And finally, just notice 1 thing that you can taste, or just notice the feeling in your mouth and just pay attention to that moment. And that's the grounding exercise, and something that you can very easily do in an exam hall or anywhere, in fact. If you're sat in front of a computer about to take a test online or about to do an assignment, this is just something that can help you to ground you and help you feel a little less panicky. And this is based on mindfulness, which is a practice that means paying attention on purpose in the moment and non-judgmentally. You can bring mindfulness into your life by practicing meditations, which are often guided to help you to really kind of think about being present, being in the moment. Something like that senses test that we've just done is an example of a guided meditation. Another way of being mindful is just to notice what's around you. Be more mindful when you're walking down the street. Notice what's around you. Also, paying attention to your feelings is another way of being mindful, and allowing yourself to really fully participate in each present moment. Often our minds can be wandering off to other places, and actually it's really important to just try to enjoy and be present in each individual moment. And what this can bring us is a sense of calm, and can certainly help when we're feeling very stressed. So I'm going to talk to you now about some support and resources that are available to you that could be really helpful. So firstly, you can go to go.lsbu.ac.uk/got-your-back to access information about all the support available to students through the Student Services Department at London South Bank University. All students are able to access this free online self-help program that helps you to learn coping strategies, build up resilience and manage difficulties, all based on cognitive behavioural therapy. And there is a program all about stress that you might find particularly helpful around your exams. So that is something I would thoroughly recommend to you. It's completely secure. You download it onto your phone or your PC or your laptop, your tablet. It's very easy to use. And you just log in with your LSBU email details. You can work through it like an entire course from start to finish, or you can choose to skip sections and just look at the bits that you feel would be most helpful to you. So I would thoroughly recommend that program to you, particularly the one all about stress. A website that I'd like to recommend to you is, this is an NHS website called Good Thinking. And there are lots of resources on there all about the following topics that you can see on here. So about anxiety, sleep problems, feeling stress or feeling low in mood. And if you click on those, you'll find lots of resources and tips on how to manage and cope with those particular problems. There's also lots of apps that are recommended, many of which are completely free for you to put onto your phone so that you can access resources that way too. A couple more exam stress resources that I'd like to let you know about. So firstly, Student Minds have a lot of information on their website. Student Minds is an organisation that is all about student mental health. So they have lots of information on their website specifically about exam stress. Also, Mind, a well-known mental health charity, has lots of information about managing exam stress on their website too. So you can use these links or simply Google, and you will be able to find some further tips and advice on managing your stress during this exam period. The Mental Health and Wellbeing team at London South Bank University are also here for you. We offer confidential support and advice to any students who are having a tough time or want a space to come and have a chat about what's on their mind. We can refer students to counselling if that's appropriate, and also signpost to other support services too. And we can help you to maybe consider what might be helpful for you, identify coping strategies and look at what might be supportive. We can also help you have conversations with your course team about how you're feeling, how things are going, if you'd like us to. And you can find out more on our web pages by going to go.lsbu.ac.uk/wellbeing. To book an appointment with the Mental Health and Wellbeing team, you can email studentwellbeing@lsbu.ac.uk, and someone will then get in touch with you to discuss booking an appointment. Just to note that we are currently offering appointments on via telephone, email and Microsoft Teams only. We're not able to offer them in person at the moment. So that is all for today. Finally, I would like to just wish you all the very best of luck in your exams. Remember the things that I've said. Remember that stress is normal. It is something that can actually be helpful, and it is something that you can manage. We tried a breathing exercise that might help. We've tried a grounding exercise. I've introduced you to further information about mindfulness and also just general well-being and self-care. Lots of resources out there to help you as well. You can come and talk to us in the Mental Health and Wellbeing team. And just remember to be kind to yourself during this time. Don't give yourself a hard time. It's hard enough already. So just be kind to yourself, and I wish you all the very best of luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It's really, really insightful. We really enjoyed it and really informative as well. And yes, I think students who are feeling stressed during this exam, maybe they will be able to get in touch with you because you have shared the contact details and some information as well.
Absolutely, yes.
As we don't have any questions, it's really lovely to see you and thanks for your time as
No
well.
problem at all. No problem. My pleasure. Thank you very much.